Let's try. Maybe he is smuggling. Yes. If Mr. LeBlanc has something to do with the smuggling ring, it's possible this fake statue was brought on board in Zhengfa. I think I need to question him a bit further. I would have never smuggled anything. About your statue, Mr. LeBlanc, and tell me how much of a fake it is. I wonder if it might be a fake. What? How dare you say my art is fake? I suspect that your statue might be the target of an international smuggling ring. Don't say such fantastical things, those thieves would not dare. I have the certification of my cargo right here. You mean the cargo certification document? Mr. Zinc LeBlanc, why didn't you show us so earlier? Say so earlier. Please show it to us at once. I can't read this. What does it say? It's as plain as day the cargo was put onto the plane in Europe. And there you have it, Miles Edgeworth. Too bad for you. The statue was brought on board in Europe just as it says it in this certificate. No, that's... Which means that there was never a window of time in which the statue wasn't sitting there. I respectfully disagree. We can't discount the theory until I see the statue for myself. Then you can have your wish. Look at it yourself and I see I am right. So this. I've seen this somewhere before. This is the Alif Red. This is Alif Red? Gives off such a feeling of art. I can practically smell it. This statue has a high amount of historical value. After it was unveiled at a museum in Europe, I brought it to this country to exhibit it. I believe a closer look is warranted here. Because this dude took a picture with it. And this is way bigger than this thing. This is obviously a fucking fake. Also, the eyes are, like, not as red. So this is the infamous Alif Red statue. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Did you find something? There's something wrong with this picture. You should examine it in more detail. And it also looks like there's a crack here. So this is the... okay, no. That's where I've seen this somewhere before. Wonder this thing is worth 10 million cents. Look out, it sparkles, sir. I wouldn't call it sparkling, detective. Maybe more along the lines of dully shining. Boop, 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 boop. Is the spot somehow connected to the other piece of evidence I hold? Yep. These eyes are awfully orange, don't you think? Yeah, they are pretty. They remind me of the sunsets when I was in grade school, sir. I don't think you see what I'm talking about. No, I do, but it's really like the color of the sun when it's setting, sir. Oh, the memories. I remember standing out in the field, spinning with all my arms out until I fell ill. I don't care about sunsets, focus, detective. What color are these eyes in this photo? Huh? Oh, sir, they're red. As I thought, the statue is a fake. Mr. LeBlanc. What do you want? Do you know what I am a very busy man. I allow you 2 seconds for your answer. The Alif Red, I suppose, is your pride and joy, is it not? Is the biggest trophy on this European trip. Do you know why I wanted this possession? Possess this statue. The trigger started 17 years ago. Better grab a chair, sir. Sounds like this is going to be a long story. Mr. LeBlanc, I regret to inform you, you have my heartfelt sympathy, but... What is it that? What is that? Sympathy for what? You'll see, I'd like you to compare the eyes. The large fellow there has very bright and pretty eyes compared to you. I wasn't talking about the two of us. I meant the picture of the statue in front of us and the one in this photo. Why the sudden yelling now? Now then what? There's a photo of the statue on display at the museum in Europe. What? Now do you see, Mr. LeBlanc? The statue before us is a fake. A fake? I believe that even further examination will be required now that we have confirmed that this is indeed a fake. There must be some sort of proof that this was brought on board in Zhengfa. And I will present to you that evidence will resolve this remaining contradiction. This thing is underneath it. What's this? The statue looks like it's stepping over the neighbor's plot, sir. Kind of resembles its owner in its stance and attitude. You, what did you just say now? Further, my clothing's hem has not been stepped on by anyone. It's too expensive for that, for me to allow that to happen. Please forgive me. Please forgive the trespass of my subordinates. Why would I forgive the trespasses? Unless it is an expensive dress, you keep it. Anyways, here you go. Is this spot someone connected to any of the evidence I hold? No. Fuck. Nothing else says Zhengfa on it. Okay, yes, that would be that one. I'm not entirely confident that there's a contradiction. Fuck. It is, because it shouldn't be on top of it. This piece. Yes. There's clearly a contradiction here. What are you all going on about? It's just a simple case of cargo cover getting stuck under another piece of cargo. That's not possible. But it is, it shouldn't be this way, but the statue is on top of the cloth, supposing that the neighboring piece of cloth was brought on board in Zhengfa. There's no way that any part of it should wind up under something from Europe. Which means that this fake statue was smuggled on board in Zhengfa. But what about the cargo certificate? Let me ask in return, what about Agent Hex? Why did he come down here in the middle of the flight? There's only one reason why. To secure proof of smuggling activity aboard this flight. So you say, but I don't believe he had to do that mid-flight. We could have just as easily inspected all the cargo after the plane landed. That may be true, however, if you have it backwards, Francisca. Sure, Agent Hex would have waited until after the plane landed, but he had a reason for coming down to the cargo hold. Suppose he'd found the fake at the airport. It would have been after the swap had occurred. At that time, the suspicion would naturally fall onto the statue's owner, who would have no way to prove that the statue was switched without his knowledge, which means there's someone involved who's forging or modifying cargo certificates. Oops. Oopsie. Yeah. I guess the victim knew the real version of this was gonna be getting nabbed, huh? Yes, while the photo would be seen as nothing more than a simple souvenir, it is in fact taken to be used as a reference document later on. Next, Agent Hex had to secure proof that the smuggling had taken place. He came down here to take a picture of the cargo hold. A rather empty one at that, right before the fake statue could be loaded on board. A photo of the hold and missing a valuable piece of cargo would have been enough proof. After that, all he had to do was hold the Zhengfa cargo crew and arrest the smuggler. Exactly, which is this only goes to prove my theory. If the statue was not in the cargo hold during the European Zhengfa leg of the trip, there would have been enough height from which Agent Hex could have fallen to his death. Officer, move this statue immediately. I want a thorough examination of the floor underneath now. Ms. Von Karma, I'm ready to report my findings. Go on. After moving the leaf red statue out of the way, we tested the area under it with luminol, and there was a reaction. I see, there was a reaction to the luminol. An indication that there was blood in that spot. Please stop looking at it now, sirs. It seemed that my deductions were correct after all. I suppose it would appear that way. The culprit cleaned the blood up as well. How do you think the killer did that? How'd the killer clean up all the blood? Well, they wiped it down with the fucking cloth. Take that! The killer used the bloody cloth I found inside the suitcase to clean up the mess. I see. They had the need to clean up all the blood before the plane landed in Zhengfa. Yes, because otherwise the cargo crew would have discovered it during the layover. So you guys are saying that the murder happened before the plane landed in Zhengfa? There's no other conceivable timeline for the events of the murder. But if that is true, then that throws a certain person's testimony into doubt. If the murder occurred before the lay landed in Zhengfa, then the most highly suspect, it would be Melee's. Because she ended up saying that he took it off again, is when he wrung it. But I like her! Stop it! Recall Miss Melee's testimony about Agent Hicks in regard to when we departed Zhengfa. I saw Mr. Hicks sitting in a seat at 5 a.m. You know? She claims that Agent Hicks was alive at the time of the service calls, but that totally contradicts the facts, sir. But why would she lie about something like that? I think the only person who can answer that is Miss Melee herself. I like her. No! Stop! I like her. Give it to me. Hey, Melee. Fucking cutie. She did nothing wrong. Miss Melee. Miss Melee. Huh? Do you recall what you said earlier about when you answered some service calls as you were departing from Zhengfa? You say that Mr. Hicks was sitting in the seat at that time. However, that is simply not possible, because Mr. Hicks was dead long before we ever touched down in Zhengfa. Oh? Miss Kevi Melee. Maybe I didn't see what I thought I did. No one could make a mistake so large, Miss Melee. But I make that kind of boo-boo all the time. This is going nowhere. There must be a better way of resolving this contradiction. Very well, Miss Melee, if you please tell me about your alibi during the time span. From just before we were to land at 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. when the body was found. Are you telling me I'm suspect Mr. Edgeworth? Cute. Oh, give me some of that. Oh yeah. From 3 to 4, I was in the flight attendant's room, all by my lonesome self. Oh yeah. From 5 to 6, I was in the flight attendant's room, all by my lonesome self. Huh. How was a man supposed to react to a testimony like that? Miss Melee, wake up. She fell asleep again. Looks like the only way I'm going to be able to wake her up is by pressing her. I'll fucking press all over her. Consensually. Look, I feel like I'm gonna need the, because this has times. Because she should actually be doing something from like 2 to 4. There's a window here. She should be like doing shit. Like doing drinks. Hold it! If I remember correctly, food was being served in first class in the lounge between the hours 3 and 4 a.m. Yeah, but that kind of stuff's run by Mr. Bodo. Now, what were you doing in the attendance room at that time? Eating and then having a most delicious drink. You mean you were neglecting your duties? No way. Sleeping's part of our job too, you know. Oh, my name's himself. So you were alone the entire time, were you? Yeah. No one else even popped their head in to say hi. Well, I think a contradiction just popped in to say hi. What should I do? Should I raise an objection? Raise an objection! Ms. Melee, there's a clear contradiction embedded in your testimony. Huh? What are you talking about? It's not possible that you were alone in the attendance room the whole time from 5 to 6 a.m. Because what's her face, barged in there. Here you go, Miss Melee. Hold this. I wonder if you would be so kind as to take a look at this receipt, Miss Melee. Huh? A receipt? For what? It's for the suitcase Miss Teniero bought. Now, if I direct your attention to the timestamp, as you can see, it clearly says 5:40 a.m., Miss Teniero. Yes? Huh? Why is the killer here? I thought you'd have her locked up by now. I requested that she be present as a witness so that we may straighten out your complex lie. Now then, Miss Teniero, between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m., you took a trip from first class down to the first floor in-flight shop, correct? Yes, I went to the shop to buy a suitcase. After which, I went straight to the attendant's room to drop it off. And did you see Miss Melee there at the time? No. So, Miss Melee, where were you really between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m.? Slurping on something? I was just talking with the captain. That would be the easiest way to do it. Miss Cammy Melee. Huh? The bathroom? I'll be the one to ask the questions here. Yeah, maybe that's it. I probably just missed it. Nature calls, you know. Do you take me for a fool? That's a little too convenient to be true. But it's the truth. Cross my heart. I don't have enough conclusive proof to counter-argue her at this stage. You don't believe me, do you? Please, won't you give me a chance and hear me out? Reason for suspicion. Look, I know you're suspecting me because I'm one of the crew. But you think that maybe you should also suspect Mrs. Rhoda too? She's the one in charge of the elevator key card and the shop, you know? If you ask me, that makes her super suspicious. Please leave Miss Teniero out of our conversation. Only you are under suspicion for now. I don't get it. Why are you covering for Miss Rhoda all of a sudden? Oh, now I get it. Maybe you got your eye on Miss Rhoda. Of course I'm keeping an eye on her. I can't very well let her escape, can I? Never mind. You want to know something? Miss Rhoda actually kind of light. I have absolutely no interest in people who can't appreciate my sense of design. Now, this is not the time for this sort of talk. Melee is so fucking cute, guys. I am so fucking in on this. No, it's not the reason for... It's not the only reason I have for suspecting you. Your statements regarding Mr. Hicks also turned out to be a bunch of lies. But you said I wasn't an attendant. You wouldn't suspect me then, would you? Yes, I suppose that's true enough.
Hold it.
She's already detained for further questioning, or have you already forgotten? Oh, yeah. I guess I just forgot. Cammy, don't tell me you suspect me too. Sorry, can't help it. I mean, other than you, there's no one else who could have done it. I can't believe you would think that. I mean, me, a killer. Miss Melee, what do you mean just now by no one else could have done it? She's the one in charge of the elevator keycard and the shop, you know? And what are you in charge of, Miss Melee? I took care of the attendance room. That doesn't count. Oh, but I spent so much time there. I might as well be my responsibility. Mr. Edgeworth, Cammy is very talented in languages. So she assists passengers who may not speak English. So she's got a good mouth. Especially those who speak Borginian. She's the only one on the flight who is fluent. Oh, you mean that kind of, what am I in charge of? Why didn't you say so in the first place? What else could I have meant? Yeah, so I'm really good at Borginian. She's fluent in Borginian. Then I suppose you're in charge of processing documents in Borginian. Yeah, I take care of anything that has to do with Borginian. Very interesting. Super suspicious. Can't press it or present anything.
Hold it.
Actually, your on-the-job behavior makes you super suspicious in my eyes. Huh? But why? Miss Teniero is busy with the passengers and all of her other duties. You have a lot of free time on your hands, thus providing you with ample time to commit the crime.
Objection!
Shut up, Francisco. Miles Edgeworth, I demand that you cease and desist in this line of conjectural questioning. I won't allow you to bluff your way through this like a certain defense lawyer. I do not honestly believe Miss Melee does any actual work on board the flight. Oh, that's not true, Mr. Edgeworth. Although, well, I am in charge of the flight attendant's room and some Virginian stuff. Here you go. Read this for me. Sweetheart. Queen, as some would say. Not me, obviously. So are you the only one in the flight crew that speaks Virginian? Is that correct? Yeah, I guess so. I studied abroad in Virginia for a while. Aw, give me. Now that this is the case, then the signature on this document belongs to you, doesn't it? It's a falsified piece of documentation with only one purpose: to lead anyone who read it to believe that Mr. LeBlanc's statue was loaded in Europe. The only person who could have either prepared or processed this document in Borginian is you, Miss Melee. What? Without your participation, the smuggling of the Alif Red could not have occurred. Don't sleep while I'm pointing my finger at you. What? Oh, I wouldn't dream of falling asleep on you, Mr. Edgeworth. It is exactly as you say. Are you confessing to have participated in the smuggling? No, far from it. It's true that I was the one who signed off on the document, but you can't use that fact alone to make your allegation of smuggling stick. There's no direct correlation at all. All you have is my signature on a piece of paper. Really? All you did was sign for it. I neglected to check if the cargo had been loaded into the plane properly. So sorry about that. I mean, that's something. It seems that she's finally woken up, but this is going to be one tough fight. Suppose, and this is just a supposition, if I was the one involved in the smuggling, you can't throw the charge of murder on me just like that.
Objection!
If you were involved in the smuggling, you would have a strong motive to kill. Agent Hicks was in the middle of an investigation regarding a smuggling ring. And just when he was about to close in, he's killed by a member of the ring. Well, did you ever stop to think that maybe Rhoda is the smuggling ring member? After all, unlike me, Rhoda has access to many things on this plane for work purposes. You can blow it. So, perhaps there is some element in a setup at play in this case. What are you talking about? Don't worry, I wasn't talking about you. I meant the killer. First, it was myself, and now it's Miss Tenero who is under the microscope. Seems to me that our killer is going to great lengths to pin this crime on anyone they can. You have no proof that Rhoda is being set up, or that she isn't. Actually, I believe that she is indeed the target from the very beginning. Intended target from the very beginning. I believe that the plan was to push all of the blame for the crime onto her. And the evidence will prove my suspicion. This proves that the killer was out to frame Miss Tenero out from the very beginning. This? Fuck. Suitcase. No, it had to be. Has to be the bear.
Take that!
The piece of evidence will answer all of your questions. Are you sleep presenting or something, Mr. Edgeworth? No, as you can plainly see, I'm wide awake. I'm afraid you failed. You're making so little sense that I thought maybe you were asleep. Fuck. Dr. Sleeping aside. Still unaccounted for. I need to stay calm and think carefully and present the commended evidence. Fuck. Fuck. Suitcase. The killer could have hidden the body anywhere, and yet they chose the suitcase. Okay, thank God. Look, it was either the fucking thing that only she can open, or it's the fucking suitcase, okay? Why is that? Perhaps it was to move the body from the lower deck to the first floor. However, why go through the trouble and do so? only way all of this actions make sense is if the killer had wanted to frame Miss Teniero for the murder. Miss Teniero buys a suitcase on every flight she works without fail. But should her suitcase be switched with the one containing the victim's body, that would put her in a very tight spot. Unfortunately for the killer, the turbulence put an end to that plan. That would have been fucked up. There wasn't enough time to put the body back into the suitcase. Ergo, they made do with however was handed after the plan, and tried to frame me as I lay unconscious on the floor from the turbulence. The killer then went to hide the suitcase in the in-flight shop, and brought the piggy bank back to the elevator in order to fabricate a false weapon. A lot of work for a fruitless endeavor, wouldn't you agree? Sounds like the killer had a tough time too, huh? I mean, why did the killer need to frame someone that badly anyway? That is because the special circumstances surrounding this particular case. The special circumstances directed the need for the killer to frame someone. Who the victim was? There would be an investigation no matter what. When the murder took place. Where it took place? It could be any of these three. Fuck. But I'd assume who? The killer was at a loss for what to do with Agent Hicks's body, but as it just so happened, there was a bunch of empty suitcases nearby. Being a skinny man, the killer thought to put his body in the suitcase and hand it off. You mean that the whole plan to frame someone was an elaborate coincidence? No, that's not what I said. You wrongly deduced my meaning, Miss Melee. The one with the wrong deductions. You think before you speak again. Fuck. What special circumstances? Fucking where? The special circumstance is simply that the murder took place on the plane mid-flight. No matter which country, customs is quite strict in this day and age. So no matter what you do, the chances that the body will be found is very high. Therefore, there was no choice but to frame either Miss Teniero or myself. In other words, the only one who fits within the boundaries of the criminal's movements is not Miss Teniero or myself, but you, Miss Cammy Melee. Only you, and you alone, could be the killer. And? Are you done already? I was about to fall asleep again. Anyway, let's be honest here. You don't have anything on me other than a whole lot of circumstantial evidence. I can see the outline of how the murder occurred, but I have no definitive evidence. Isn't there a piece of evidence that's still unaccounted for? Something that I still can't quite fit into the big picture. The phone.
Take that!
I don't have any actual evidence. I thought not. But that's because it went missing, and it still is. Missing? What do you mean by that? In the complex puzzle that is this case, there was one piece I kept getting stuck on, and that is the victim's cell phone. Francisca, you were waiting at the airport for a phone call from the Agent Hicks's cell phone. Or at least that's what you told me. That's right. But Agent Hicks's cell phone could not be found at the crime scene. I mean, the killer took that phone with them. Precisely. I suspect that if they were to found that phone, it would lead us to the killer. Come on, get serious. If the victim fell to his death from that height, wouldn't his phone break as well? We wouldn't know that until we try a little experiment, will we? Francisca, I'd like to ask you for your assistance. You know the victim's phone number, do you not? Of course I do.